Hello and welcome to the latest production line developer blog. I don't know why I'm always so amused by doing this. So I haven't done a video at the weekend, and it's just totally random what happens now. But I have just updated the game. So this is production line, the car factory strategy game, and I just updated it to version 1.76. Which was in the unstable build on Steam for a while, and now it's hopefully everywhere. So I'm going to talk about some of the big things that we changed, talk about some stuff that I might need to think about, maybe change, and also I might do something a bit mad. Anyway, right, so a few things have changed. Before anything happens, look up here, look. Look, there are two progress bars. The reason there's two progress bars, if I hover over it, is, look, we're researching, in green, we're researching design stuff on the design tech tree, which is here, using design studios, and in yellow, we're researching the normal tech trees, which are these two. And we now have two progress bars up there, because previously we only bothered showing you the main one. But as you get later into the game, it becomes more of a thing that you want to research design stuff, that you want to research new body types, and you want to research some of the other cool stuff. You see, we've only got design going now, so if I pick something, we should probably get some marketing going and do that, then it will go back to the two. So that's a new thing that's in. There's a lot of changes here. I don't know if I talked about this or not, I'm a bit disorganized. But this is now only one column rather than two, and we added a load of stats. So you have, it used to show produced and consumed and stockpiled, and it was just assumed that you could work out from there how many you import. But like, who wants the player to do any calculations? So if we click here and sort stuff, you can see that the thing we're importing more than anything else is servos. So maybe we should make them. But it depends, they cost 98 each. We're only actually spending $14,000 per hour importing servos from other companies. If I sort it by that, I can see that most of the import cost is on tyres. So really, maybe we should be producing tyres. That's in this particular game, because we haven't started doing some of the late game stuff yet. So yeah, you can click to search from high to low on all of these columns. And that's a new thing, and I think that's quite handy. So I'm quite pleased with that. I fixed a bug to do with a setting that I probably haven't unlocked yet in this game. This is a new test game. If you go to imports and go prefer local, occasionally that wouldn't work properly, and it works now. The expenses screen has been reformatted a little bit. So this now splits these into like the top 8, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The top 8 components get split out as individual things. So you can see, that's in an hour. If we go 24 hours, you can see what I'm spending most money on actually buying. And I think that's quite helpful. But also I changed the formatting of this a lot, so that we don't have that abbreviation where that would be 1,427k. And it was harder to tell where the big numbers were. I'm going to make this sortable by these columns at some point. In fact, it's on my list to do tomorrow, but I don't know if I'll get it done tomorrow. And also, due to some stupidity, the totals were missing for about 6 versions, and nobody mentioned it. Anyway, they're back now, and just some of the layout of this has been fixed. So this is now in the middle of the height of this. I'm going to crop this height as well. These have been tweaked to be in the middle. The layout of this is just sharper and nicer and better, and the fonts were partly wrong as well. I've also tweaked some of these to make them similar, and I mean to keep spending time on this stuff so that it looks nice and it looks consistent, and it's just more presentable. Anyway, so I've been working on that stuff. What else have we done? Extra prog bar, speed up. Yeah, if you have a really big map, I mean massive, I won't even bother loading one, that you built yourself, and when you place down resource conveyors like this, if you do this, if there is then a little delay of like a second or half a second or whatever, it should be completely and utterly gone now. There was a lot of staring at code to get that fixed, but I think that's fixed now and gone, so that's should make a really big difference if you're playing those really massive maps. I might load one in a minute to show you what I'm talking about, and then I'm going to come back to that other thing. Something else we've done is we've slowed down the kind of price changes. We've basically slowed down the economic market to the extent that if you find yourself in the late game constantly going into this screen and changing prices on everything all the time, you will find that you have to do that less often now. And I think that is a big difference for the late game, because it was a criticism some people who have played the game a lot leveled at the game, and I think that was quite fair. So we've changed that. I'm going to show you some stuff that we changed with the editor. If you didn't know about it, there is a map editor. If you click here, oh, I haven't clicked. Well, I've changed loads of stuff here. By the way, you can zoom in and out. A lot of people don't know that. It's mouse wheel. Because when you can build big maps. When you build big maps, kind of like you need to zoom in and out, and you can move around with WSAD or the cursor keys. Something that we changed is you can now zoom to the cursor like that. Okay. Took more effort than you'd think. Something else is when you place an export slot, they actually, if you look at it in the game, they actually take up 3 tiles, but we were only showing it as 1 tile. So now if I switch to exports and I place one, I now can't place one here next to it. It kind of jumbled up and looks stupid in the game, and you shouldn't really be able to do it anyway. So that's fixed. The other thing is you can see now if I switch to import or export, you'll see it will highlight the edges, because I think some people were trying to put them like here on the outside, and you can't do that, and they were registering it as a bug. So that's a little bit clearer now. The other thing is there was a bug that meant you couldn't put things on the edge tile, right on the edge of the map there, and you can do that now. I think that's all of the things that I changed in the map editor. Yeah, it was. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to load a really old map. Well, it's not really old, but it's like a player map. I didn't build this. Where was the one I used it as a test? It still runs a bit slowly, I think. Oh, Thompson Smaller, this is it. But I think, like, and I presume it won't crash. Normally I like quit the game and reload it if I'm going to do this. And you're probably thinking, oh, this is quite slow to load, Clef. This is bad coding. This is big. This is huge. It may crash. If it crashes, I may edit the video. Talk amongst yourselves. Been on holiday lately? That's me asking. I haven't. Blah blah blah. It's what people say when they're cutting your hair in Britain, and they don't know what to talk about. Anyway, right, here we go. Here's a big map, and look, the frame rate is not brilliant for the first like 20 seconds because there's some caching that happens. I'm gonna turn off these little signs. So yeah, people can now do big crazy maps. If I switch it into blueprint mode, it's kind of funny. I love this. I love the fact that I've made a game that people will take the time to do this. It's just insane. Partly this frame rate is because it's just loaded and it needs to cache all the routes, and partly it's because I'm actually running video capture at the same time, so it's not going to be perfect. But in a few seconds it will kind of calm down. I never designed the game to be able to support something this ridiculous, but it does work, and hopefully, oh, I can just see it starting to speed up now. Hopefully it will kind of calm down. See, this is something that kind of like Activision and EA wouldn't do. It's like I'm showing you my game pushed beyond its limits where the frame rate breaks down. Like, you know, you don't get that with Call of Duty or Battlefield. Everything has to be shown on a liquid cooled PC. I've actually been party to that. I've been places where it's like, oh, the PC only runs if like you take the lid off and put a massive fan next to it, but that's fine. That's an E3 demo. Oh, here we go. Look, it's calmed down now. It's calmed down now, and things are moving normally. I hate the car colours though. They're hideous, aren't they? Anyway, what I'm getting at is if you have maps this big, it used to be that placing down extra conveyors would like kill it badly, and I'm gonna hopefully prove it doesn't. It will still kill it a little bit. Yeah, it's moving again. Like, that would be bad before. That would take forever to like come back because it would recalculate some stuff that it didn't have to. Also, I don't have a cutting edge PC. This is my video card is like a 980 or something. And I have a quad core i7, but it's quite an old one now. I have a lot of RAM, but production line really doesn't care how much RAM you've got. If you've got 4 gig of RAM, that's more than enough. You do not need more than that. In fact, I will tell you how much RAM it's using, and then I'll turn out to be a liar. This is using 1.7 gig of RAM. So, like, if you want it from the horse's mouth in terms of like, what do I need for games like this? In the case of this game, I can't speak to everything. RAM is irrelevant. What really matters is the CPU, and very slightly the video card, but to be honest, this game is more CPU bound. Anyway, look, it's embarrassing to show you a poor frame rate. But, yeah, this is going to take a while because it has to unload. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to cheat. Cheat-tastic. And load the game again. And then I'm going to talk about something, and then I'm going to show you some silly stuff. Let's just load this in again. So I recently got like a message on Steam that made me think that the way I calculate something is kind of not very helpful, and I would like to explain to you why. So if we go here into the price of a car, let's pick this one, doesn't matter. So the component cost of this car is $14,952. I'll keep it running. So 74% of the price of this car is that. And I'm making a profit on this car, a very healthy profit. It's quite near the start of the game. If you've been playing the game a lot and it's really, really late in the game, you may find that your gross profit is really low, or it may even be negative, and you may find a situation in which the gross profit on every car you're making is negative, and yet somehow you still make money. Cliff, this is a bug. This is not a bug. This is maybe a design failing, but it is not a bug. The reason for this is we have to guess this stuff. Okay, so something that we have to guess is the overhead cost. Another thing we have to guess is the capital cost, which is like how much did it cost to build this factory, and let's divide that over like 100 hours of producing all of the cars, and then work out the capital cost per car of any sort. So that actually should probably be the same. Yeah, you'll notice, look at overhead cost and capital cost. They're the same for every car. Because we have to guess, okay? We'll stop that flashing by just picking something. But the component cost, that has to be right, okay? Because I know every single component that went into this car, or to this car. And that is absolutely true. I do know what components are required to build a car of this type. However, I'm assuming that you are buying the components at the current price of those components. And you may not be. Okay, because for example, where's a good example? Driver airbag, yeah. So a driver airbag will cost a certain amount, and we can look up how much driver airbag costs here. So it's just an airbag, $406, yeah. But the thing is, you may be making it. You may be making it from a little bit of metal, some sodium azide, I think it is. I can't remember if there's anything else, maybe a sensor, or like a quarter of a sensor or something like that. So you may be making it. If you're making it, you may be making it a lot cheaper than you could buy it. So actually the component cost could be wrong. Okay. So, and it says this tooltip says this. It says, if you can't read it, if you're on low res, the market cost of all of the components required to build this current model, regardless of whether the components were imported or locally manufactured. If you locally manufacture everything, this number is wrong. If you locally manufacture some things, this number is wrong. Now you might think, Cliff, this is rubbish, you're supposed to be such a cool coder, can't you work out the real value? No, I can get closer, but I can't work out the real value. The reason I can't work out the real value is this is a car of this type. If you are creating half of the airbags yourself and buying the other half, I have no idea whether half of those airbags are going into this car, and because this is just one design, loads of them have airbags. I don't know whether all of the airbags that end up in this car will be locally produced ones or whether or not they'll be imported ones, and there is no way for me to know that. What I could do is I could look at the stats here, okay, and I could say, well, in the last hour, half of the airbags were imported and half of them were produced locally, so I could come up with an approximate number, okay, so I could get closer. It would never be perfect, and it would fluctuate depending on how many were made in the last hour. And you might think that's good, Cliff, that's better than I have now, because what I really want to know is, am I making a profit on this car? Okay, so what that means is I now need to know the cost of making that component. That's complicated. Because, for example, yeah, we will have a slot that's put down that makes airbags. So I then have to depreciate the capital cost of that slot over 100 hours and remove the capital cost of that from this capital cost because it's a different thing. Okay, so that's kind of fine. I can do that. That's the capital cost, and we're guessing at this 100-hour depreciation thing. But it will never be accurate because also there's some conveyors that maybe only go to that particular manufacturing slot. So do I include them, or do I include the percentage of time that they're used for that and not for things that are throughput to somewhere else? There's the resource importer to import this stuff. There's also the research required, don't forget, and the cost of the research in order to unlock the capability to make our own airbags. Is that included? And is that included over 100 hours? And then do I deduct that research cost? And by research cost, what do we mean by research cost? Do we mean the cost of paying the researchers? Do we also mean the cost of putting down the research facility? Like, how is it apportioned? Okay, and it gets even more complicated than that, because like sensors are something that appear in loads and loads of different stuff. So for example, I might use sensors, but that's only one component. Like airbags are a simple one because they only use airbags, but electric windows, I can't remember whether or not they use like sensors and motors. So maybe half of the sensors and 15% of the motors are imported and the rest aren't. And oh my god, it gets complex. Now I can do it. Like I can do it, and I don't mind doing it. I don't mind how much effort the game takes or how much work goes in. I can do all of this. I have hay fever, which is why my nose is so itchy. You know, all of this stuff can be done, but it's very difficult to get it right. And what I'm basically asking is, are you confused by this? Do you need more information here? And don't just automatically say yes, because players tend to say that we need everything. It's a difficult design problem, and I'm thinking about it because I want this number to make some sense, but I also don't want to give the player a false sense of security about that number, because this is really difficult even for real car companies, right? You know, like, over how many years do you depreciate the research cost of a certain component? You know, how is that done? And then what if that changes, right? What if it changes because you decide to stop putting that component, that feature, in a particular car, or you change the number of cars of a certain value that you make? It's a really complicated calculation, and normally you've got loads of people working on this stuff. I bet you in a meeting at, like, you know, Volkswagen or whatever, people say, are we making a profit on the, you know, the Volkswagen Golf? I bet you a lot of people go, Well, you know, because it depends. It depends. It's super complicated. It's super complicated. But anyway, I would like to know what you think. I would like to spark a discussion about this so that people go, well, frankly, the current value is nonsense. So, you know, we want you to work on that, or to say, actually, it's fine because when I get to the late stage of the game and I'm producing my own components, I kind of have more of a feel for things anyway. You know, it's something that we could add to the game or not. I would like to know what you think. Let me know, because I always want to make the game better. Something I thought I'd do, because it's just ridiculous, is that there's this thing called breaking the fourth wall that they do in TV. And, like, you know when you see, like, developer videos like this, and there's a guy like me sort of, like, sat here chatting. Sometimes it's just a voice, sometimes it's a face on a face cam like this. And people have, like, a distorted idea of what game development is like. They think it's a lot more profitable than it is. They think it's a lot easier than it is. But they kind of... It's just interesting, like, because I'm sure some people think I'm in an office doing this. I'm in a corner of the Positech office doing this. I'm not, right? I'm just going to break the fourth wall a bit. I'm going to mess around. So, like, this is just, like, where I am. And hang on a minute. This is, because there's filters. Like, we all know how green screen works, right? I can turn them off. There's just a green sheet. It's just a green sheet, right? If I pick this up, so yeah, there's a green sheet. This is my home office. I don't know if I can do that. It's a tiny little room, right? It is a tiny room. There's a poster up there for Gratuitous Tank Battles, which is a game I worked on. I just like that. It's a picture of me and my family. A picture of me very young. Like a Klingon sign that I find very funny. That's a VR thing up there. I used to draw on this when I rather than a piece of paper, but I moved my office around. That's kind of like a thing from a game that I worked on, and that's me being nominated for a BAFTA. And that's it. It's like it's a tiny little room. Okay, this is it. This is it. And obviously there's a mic. And two monitors and lots of lighting, which is stupidly bright, but if you turn them off, everything kind of like looks a little bit weird. But this is it. It's yeah, I do archery, and I'm pretending to be fit. Look, I'm so not fit. It's a VR headset. No cats, and obviously a car. Like, who doesn't have an electric car, a Tesla, in their office? It's just a spare one in case I need that. So there you go. And the mystery cupboard, it's just full of old PCs. I just think it's funny because I'm sure some people think I'm in an office and there's loads of staff. I'm not at all. Anyway, that's shattered everyone's illusions, hasn't it? Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think about the component stuff. Oh, and there's a mic. It's normally out of sight. Look, there's a mic. Oh dear. What am I doing? Anyway, see you again soon.